Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Today, our group would like to represent the respiratory system of the human body. Well then, may I ask what the respiratory system is? The general concept of the respiratory system can be described as responsible for delivering oxygen to the body cell and removing carbon dioxide, a waste product of metabolism. The respiratory system has many functions that the human body needs. The functions of the respiratory system are to deliver air to the lungs and convey oxygen from the inhaled air to the blood for delivery to the body cells. Besides, it also expels waste products such as carbon dioxide and a small amount of water returned to the lungs by the blood through exhalation. Finally, it functions to produce the airflow through the larynx that makes speech possible. Why is the respiratory system important to the human body? It is important because it is where the oxygen supply, carbon dioxide removal, pH regulations, speech and communications, immunity defense, temperature regulations, and also as a support for other body systems.
Next, I'm going to talk about the nose. Air enters the body through the nose and passes through the nasal cavity, which is the internal portion of the nose. The nostrils are the external opening of the nose. The nasal sphincter is a wall of cartilage that divides the nose into two equal sections. A sphincter is a wall that separates two chambers. The cilia is the thin hair located just inside the nostril. It can filter incoming air to remove debris. Mucous membrane line the nose. This specialized tissue also line the digestive, reproductive, and urinary system, as well as other parts of the respiratory system. Mucus is a slippery structure produced by the mucous membrane that protects and lubricates this tissue. In the nose, mucus help moisten, warm, and filter the air as the intake. The olfactory receptors are nerve endings that act as the respirator for the sense of the smell. They are also important to this sense of taste. These receptors are located in the mucous membrane in the upper part of the nasal cavity. Next, I'm going to talk about the tonsil. They help protect the body from the infection coming through the nose or the mouth. The tonsils are called the palatine tonsil, are located at the back of the mouth. The adenoids, also called the nasopharyngeal tonsil, are higher up behind the nose and the roof of the mouth. Next, the paranasal sinuses, which are air-filled cavities lined with the mucous membrane, are located in the bones of the skull. A sinus can be a cyst or cavity in any organ or tissue. The function of these sinuses are to make the bones of the skull lighter, to help produce sound by giving resonance to the voice, and to produce mucus to provide lubrication for the tissue of the nasal cavity. The sinuses are connected to the nasal cavity via short ducts. The four pairs of paranasal sinuses are located on either side of the nose and are named for the bones in which they are located. The frontal sinuses are located in the frontal bone, just above the eyebrow. An infection here can cause several pain in this area. The sphenoid sinuses, which are located in the sphenoid bone behind the eye and under the pituitary glands, are close to the optic nerves, and an infection here can damage the vision. The maxillary sinuses, which are the largest of the paranasal sinuses, are located in the maxillary bones under the eyes. An infection in these sinuses can cause pain in the posterior maxillary tip. The ethmoid sinuses, which are located in the ethmoid bones between the nose and the eyes, are irregularly shaped air cells that are separate from the orbital, which is eyes cavity, by only a thin layer of the bone.
Pharynx is also known as throat. Function of pharynx is to receive air after it passes through the nose and mouth, as well as food. Pharynx also act as a passageway for air from nasal cavity and mouth to larynx and trachea. So, there are three divisions of pharynx. Firstly, nasopharynx. It is used for transport air and opening to oropharynx. Secondly, oropharynx. It is visible when looking from mouth and it is used for transport air, food, and fluids downward laryngopharynx. Thirdly, laryngopharynx. It used same as the oropharynx, but laryngopharynx is opening to the esophagus and trachea. This is the division where it will divide air and food, which is air will enter the trachea and food will enter the esophagus. Lastly, pharynx will prevent food and liquids from entering airways by coordinating the epiglottis and muscle. Larynx is also known as voice box. Larynx is a triangular chamber located between pharynx and trachea. Larynx also protects lower airways by preventing entry food and liquids via the epiglottis during the swallowing. Not just that, epiglottis is a lid-like structure and it is located base of the tongue. Epiglottis will swing downward and closes off laryngopharynx, so food will not enter the trachea and lungs. Next, larynx also provides passageway for air to move between pharynx and trachea. Last but not least, larynx also facilitates voice production by vibrating vocal cords during exhalation.
Next, I'll be explaining about the trachea. The trachea is the airway that leads from the larynx to the bronchi. The role of trachea is to transport air to and from the lungs. This tube is commonly known as the windpipe, which is located directly in front of the esophagus. The trachea is held open by a series of flexible C-shaped cartilage rings that make it possible for trachea to compress so that the food can go down the esophagus. Next is the bronchi. The bronchi are two large tubes, also known as the primary bronchi, which branches out from the trachea to convey air to the two lungs. A singular bronchi is known as the bronchus. Because of the similarities of this structure to an inverted tree, this is referred to as a bronchial tree. Within the lung, the primary bronchus divides and subdivides into increasingly smaller bronchioles, which are the smallest branches of the bronchi.
The alveoli. Alveoli, also known as air sacs, are very small, grape-like clusters found at the end of each bronchiole. The alveoli are where the exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide takes place. Each lung contains millions of alveoli. During respiration, the alveoli are filled with air from the bronchioles. A network of microscopic pulmonary capillaries surrounds the alveoli. Pulmonary means relating to or affecting the lungs. The exchange of oxygen and carbon dioxide between the air inside the alveoli and the blood in the pulmonary capillaries occurs through the thin, elastic walls of the alveoli. The alveoli produce a detergent-like substance known as surfactant, which reduces the surface tension of the fluid in the lungs. This makes the alveoli more stable so they do not collapse when an individual exhales. The lungs, which are the essential organs of respiration, are divided into two lobes. A lobe is a subdivision or part of an organ. The right lung is larger and has three lobes, which are the upper, middle, and lower. It can also be named as superior, middle, and inferior. Meanwhile, the left lung has only two lobes, the upper and lower. This is due to the space restrictions because the heart is located on that side of the body.
Next, I will present about the mediastinum. The mediastinum is the compartment chest that houses the heart, and other vital organs. It is located in the middle of thoracic cavity between the left and right pleural cavities. This cavity holds connective tissue and organs such as hearts and its veins and arteries, esophagus, trachea, bronchi, thymus gland, and lymph node. Next is the pleura. The pleura is a thin layer of tissue that surrounds the lungs and forms an inner lining of the chest cavity. It shields and cushions the lung. The pleura has three parts, which is parietal pleura, visceral pleura, and pleural cavity. Parietal pleura is the outermost layer that connected with the chest wall. Visceral pleura is the innermost layer and that surrounds the lung and is connected to the lung. Meanwhile, the pleural cavity is a space between parietal and visceral pleura. Also, it's called as pleural space. It is a fluid-filled gap between the parietal and visceral pleura. Lastly is the diaphragm. The thoracic diaphragm is a dome-shaped layer of muscle that separates the thoracic cavity from the abdomen. It is the principal muscle of respiration. These muscles contractions and relaxations that make the process of breathing possible. The diaphragm left and right side is connected by phrenic nerve. The phrenic nerve stimulates the muscle contractions to make breathing possible.
Now I'll be explaining about the inhalation and the exhalation. The inhalation is the act of taking in air as the diaphragm contracts and pulls downward. This action causes the thoracic cavity to expand, which creates a negative pressure within the thoracic cavity that draws air into the lungs. However, in exhalation is the act of breathing out. As the diaphragm relaxes, it moves upward, causing the thoracic cavity to become narrower. This creates a positive pressure which forces the air out of the lungs. You can look at this figure. The left side is the inhalation process and the right side is the exhalation process.
External respiration is the act of bringing air in and out of the lungs from the outside environment, and in the process, it is exchanging oxygen for carbon dioxide. As air is inhaled into alveoli, oxygen immediately passes into surrounding capillaries and carried by the erythrocytes to all the body cells. Also, at the same time, waste product carbon dioxide has passed the bloodstream into spaces of the lungs to be exhaled. Now, for the internal respiration process. Internal respiration process is also known as cellular respiration, which is the exchange of gas within cells of the blood and the tissues. In this process, oxygen will pass from bloodstream into the cell. This cell will give off the waste product, which is the carbon dioxide, that is passed down by the bloodstream. This bloodstream transports carbon dioxide to the lungs, where it is expelled during exhalation.